Hi, everyone. I'm Danielle. Welcome to Groaning for Deliverance. Today's message is all about love, and I will be going through the Ten Commandments and specifically the one that says, Thou shalt not murder. So, if you want to follow along, I'll be reading from Exodus 20, verse 13, where he says, You shall not murder. And then I'm going to go over to Matthew 5, verse 21, which is where I'm going to be starting. If you missed me last week, I missed y'all too. It was hashtag finals. So, I had to go and focus on that. But I'm back. And so today's message, like I said, is all about love. So I am going to dive right in. So the commandment, thou shalt not murder. So when I read this commandment, I was super excited. I was like, ooh, one thing I know I'm doing right. I know I haven't murdered anyone. I have no plans on murdering anyone. And so I was super excited that at least I was doing one thing right. But what I have learned since then in my studies and as I was preparing for today's lesson, is that even though I thought I was doing the right thing, God's definition of murder is very different from what I was led to believe or what I thought I knew about murder. So in Matthew 5, this is Jesus speaking, and I think this is the Sermon on the Mount where he is talking and teaching folks about what God requires of us all. So in Matthew 5:21, he says, You have heard that it was said to people long ago, You shall not murder, and anyone who murders will be subject to judgment. But I tell you that anyone who is angry with a brother or sister will be subject to judgment. Again, anyone who says to a brother or sister, Raka, is answerable to the court. And anyone who says, You fool, will be in danger of the fire of hell. So, in this chapter or this specific verse, he is saying that if you murder someone, if you physically hurt someone, then that is murder. But if you also say something to them that hurts them or breaks their spirit, then that too is murder. So there goes my little check. Because if I know myself and I take pride, I used to take pride. I can't take pride in it anymore because God did just call me out to the floor when he led me to this passage. He says that if you call your brother or sister Raka, and Raka was a Jewish term that they would say to someone, and when they would say it, they would spit. So they would say Raka, and they would spit because that individual, they wanted to let them know that what they thought of them was nothing. It was disgusting. You were disgusting. You were less than. And the vision that I had in my head when I read this verse was the cops in the movies where they would say, What are you doing here, boy? When they would pull over a black man and he would, What you doing here, boy? And then he would either have the tobacco in his mouth and he would spit or something of that sort. It was that same feeling. He was saying that it's not just the word, but it is the intent behind the word. And if the word is intended to hurt and it hurts the individual, then you have just broken their spirit and you have wounded their spirit. And if it's been time and time again, then you may just have dealt a lethal blow to that individual's spirit. And that rested on my soul because I had thought in my own thinking that I was okay because I hadn't murdered anyone, but I was taking pride in my ability to destroy somebody with words. And he is saying that that's murder. And that I am now in danger of hell. He's like, okay, raka is a word, but even if you say you fool, even if it's a small word, you idiot, you dummy, you're ugly, those words are meant to hurt. And so the person that listens to those words get broken. How many of us know broken people because of something that someone said 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago? And how many of us have murdered God's creation? And we look at them and we can't understand why they are broken. It is because they've been broken by our words. This is so important to Jesus that he says later on in the verse, he says, therefore, if you are offering your gift at the altar and there you remember that your brother or sister has something against you, leave your gift there in front of the altar. First go and be reconciled to them, then come and offer your gift. He's saying, I don't even want the gift that you're about to give me. I don't want the praise. I don't want the glory. I don't want the honor. I don't want your prayer. I need you to go make it right with whomever you hurt before you come give me my sacrifice. If you can't love the people who are in front of you, who you see every day, that you can physically touch, how can you love me who you cannot see? There's some people I need to call after this message, and I'm gonna have to do it. And I hope you are challenged to make those phone calls, because you never know who you may have hurt, how it has hurt them, how it has destroyed them. There are people right now who cannot go be who God has created them to be because the world has told them that they are not enough. Their spirit is broken. Their spirits have been slayed. I watch a pastor online, and one of the things that he said a couple weeks ago, he says, your tongue is put behind the jail of your teeth. And that to me was perfect, because sometimes in our anger, we just want to let it out. We want to let them know how they made us feel. And even though we don't really mean what we are about to say, we only meant it in the moment because we were so angry. I want you to know that that sits in their soul. They hear your voice when they are laying in bed, and it could even be you who are listening right now. You could be ruminating on all the things that your mother said, all the things that your father said, all the things that the bully said, all the things that that teacher said, all the things that someone said to you in passing that made you feel that you were not enough. He understands, he knows that you have been murdered. And so I am challenging you, and I'm saying this again, I am challenging you to go out and share this message, not so that I can get some followers, but so that we can go out and heal some broken people. Because if we heal those broken people, then those people who God has put in our lives that were supposed to get us to a place where we needed to be can go out and go live in the promise that God has called them to be. He is saying that I don't even want your sacrifice until you have made it good with the person that you have hurt. In 1 Corinthians 13. This is Paul speaking. He says, if I speak in tongues of men or of angels, but do not have love, I am only a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. I am just making noise. God is not inhabiting that praise. People like to say God inhabits our praise. We need to be cleansed before he can come and inhabit our praise. He says that if I don't have love, all I am doing is just making noise. In Amos 5 verse 21, he said, God says to Amos, I despise your religious festivals. Your assemblies are a stench to me. Even though you bring me burnt offerings and grain offerings, I will not accept them. Though you bring choice fellowship offerings, I will have no regard for them. Away with the noise of your song. He calls them noise. I will not listen to the music of your harps, but let justice roll on like a river, righteousness like a never failing stream. Paul says, if I speak in the tongues of men or of angels but do not have love, I am a resounding gong or a clanging cymbal. Here God says in Amos 5 verse 21 says, I despise your religious festivals. Though you bring me your praise and offerings, I will not accept them. Away with the noise of your songs. He's calling them noise. He is saying, many of us, all of us are murderers, and we need to go out and make it right with each other before we can even go and sing these songs. I feel the presence of God in this moment, because last week was just a tough week for me spiritually, and I was giving birth to this message, and I didn't even know before I started doing this. I actually recorded something else, but the Spirit led me to come back to this and to come and talk about love, because he needs us to understand that loving your brother or sister is very important to him. You praising and worshiping and doing dancing and doing all of those things means nothing to him if you can't love your brother or sister. In Matthew 5, you go on into the very end of the chapter, he says, love for your enemies. This is Jesus talking. He says, you have heard that it was said, love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good. If God can even make a sacrifice to let his son, the sun in the sky that makes my plants grow, that lets the trees have fruit, that lets me feel happy because I love the sunshine. He says, if I can make the sun rise and set on everyone, even the righteous and the unrighteous, then what is it that you have? What good have you done? What have you created? What have you built? Everything that you have on this earth is mine. My son, I cause it to rise on the righteous and the unrighteous, and you have the gall to be unable to forgive your brother and sister? I created you. You in all of your sinfulness, I love you, and you have the audacity to say that you can't forgive? That you can't watch your mouth? You with all of your pride, me with all of my pride, and you have all the audacity to say that this is mine. All of earth is mine, he is saying. In Matthew, he says, do not swear on the heavens because that's where God lives. Do not swear on anything that is the earth because it is my footstool. The earth is where he rests his foot. And if he can cause the sun to rise on the thing, that he rests his foot on, that is so filled with filth, but he causes the sun to rise on everybody. All of us have sinned. Every single one of us at one point or the other. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? What are you going to get that's so special? What extra special thing are you doing if only you are capable of loving those that love you or look like you or come from the same town as you or is worshiping the same God as you? What reward will you get? Are not even tax collectors doing that? Are not even the pagans doing that? If you greet only your own people, what are you doing more than others? Do not even the pagans do that? He says, be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. You strive for perfection. Even though you fall down, you strive for perfection, because it is in perfection that he is able to inhabit. It is in perfection where you are able to forgive those that hurt you. It is in perfection where he can work and reside within you. He is saying, as a Christian, I want you to do more. I want you to do more. To whom much is given, much is expected. God is preparing a place for you in heaven. And as a Christian, he is giving you more. And so you have to give out more. When he gives to you, you give to others. So love those, even those that hurt you, even those that persecute you, even those that have lied on you. Isn't that what Jesus did when he was here on the cross? He died for our sins. God's love for us is everlasting. And so our love for each other must be too. Get on the phone, send that email, and have that heart to heart with that person that you have hurt with your words.